This is the Purple Passion Project with host and clinical sexologist, Dr. Stacy Friedman. This is your go-to podcast for raw, real, and irresistibly juicy conversations about sex, intimacy, connection, and everything in between. Whether you're feeling a little stuck in your love life, curious about what turns you on, or just craving conversations that actually matter, you're in the right place. So now, please welcome the host of the Purple Passion Project, Dr. Stacy Friedman.
What do you get when you mix purple, passion, and permission to be your true self? This podcast. I am your host, Dr. Stacy, and this is the Purple Passion Project, coming to you live and unfiltered. This is the show where we talk sex, intimacy, connection, and everything underneath the surface, because let's be honest, small talk is boring, and you're ready for the good, juicy stuff. So relax, drop your guard, and get ready for truth, laughs, maybe a few gasps, and a whole lot of passion. So today we are going deep into breath, pleasure, power, and my guest is the magnetic Hani Cheng, a global transformational coach, Tantra teacher, and founder of the Sensual Liberation Program. Can't wait to hear all about that juicy stuff. She's got over 1,500 hours of coaching and more than 800 events led worldwide. She's a master of helping people dissolve blocks, amplify their sensual energy, and ignite purpose through the sacred fusion of Tantra and Taoist wisdom. She teaches people how to harness their erotic energy to create magnetism in leadership, ease in intimacy, and abundance in life. And this episode is going to be hot, deep, and transformational. So prepare for a full body yes. Here is Hani. Woo!
Hello, everybody.
How are you? I cannot
I'm good.
This is going to be juicy.
Yes.
So you're all the way in Hong Kong, right? You said Hong Kong?
That's right, Hong Kong,
So
yes.
I was just saying how I love how we can connect with people all over the world that do such amazing work. So thank you for being here with the time difference and everything like that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So we want to just get started, and we want to kind of tune into our erotic energy and talk a little bit about what kind of drew you to Tantra and Taoist. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Taoist. Tongue twister. What kind of brought you into that practice, and how did it change you and your life?
Yeah, for sure. So for the longest time, I mean, I self-healed a 15-year disease that basically at the crux of it was connecting with my inner core and being able to experience as an inner voice, which that spoke through me, that shared with me that this is actually what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be living my life force to its fullest. And one of the main purposes that I had when I had that sort of spiritual awakening was to experience like life, sensations, truth, and all of that as part of my life purpose. And I didn't want to accept it really at all. But I realized that, whenever I talked about sexuality, whenever I talked about pleasure, whenever I talked about vulnerability and like getting to know myself so naked inside, my heart, my emotional vulnerability, my intellectual vulnerabilities, the parts of me that were so deep embedded in me, like that's what made me feel the most alive. And I had friends who had been doing this work, who were 20, 30 years my senior, and they would keep telling me that, this is actually one of your paths, when I was actually venturing into business coaching from marketing. And they were like, you should definitely reach out to our teachers. And so one thing led to another, and I realized that my sensual energy, when I connected with my body, I was actually quite a disconnected person as a child, or as I was very creative, but also my analytical mind and my scientific brain was very strong, and my logical and rational mind. And so therefore I was quite disembodied, because then my body had a life of its own, and then my head had a life of its own, and they were not
Which
really
a lot
connected.
of people have. Yeah, a lot of people have in the bedroom. They have hard time connecting.
connecting the two, and then also and then at one point, because of my upbringing, women were allowed to feel sad, but they weren't allowed to feel angry, or rather I had a hard time connecting to fury when it was not, when it was confusing. Like all the things that were allowed to be angry were allowed, but then when I was angry, when I wasn't allowed to be angry, then that feeling would almost bypass me and get suppressed. So I was not even able to feel all of my emotions, and I didn't realize that. And so what ended up happening was my emotional awareness, body awareness, and energetic awareness came together. And I started having at a qigong practice. I actually enrolled a qi master to share that with me, and she made the biggest impact in actually having me be able to experience sensations, emotions as sensations, because she was like, yeah, actually, did you know that you're not actually experiencing emotions? Every time she'd be like, what do you feel? I'd be like telling her a story from my head. Oh, this happened, so I
But
feel
you're
like
not
this person
feeling
shouldn't
it
have done
in
it.
your body.
It's not
Right,
it's not like,
right.
are you what are you feeling? Feeling is something like, I feel upset, or I feel pressure in my heart. But the way that I was expressing it was like, I feel like this wasn't the right thing to do, which is not a feeling, it's a thought,
Right.
right? And so,
Yeah.
and so, or I would say something that was coming from an analysis of the situation rather than dropping into the
More
actual embodiment.
intellectually versus physically.
Yeah, and so from when I realized that I was so disconnected, I made it a and I didn't know the benefit of being connected. And so it wasn't until later on in my journey where I had combined energy work. I was getting so much progress in terms of finding freedom in my thinking process from energy work, because it helped me break through a lot of mind constructs and mind sequences that are in programming, conventional thoughts that allowed me to feel more able to be myself, in terms of like just even hearing what my truth was. And then from there, it took a turn to then be in touch with my sensual self. What do I actually feel? What is desire actually? Like, how can I express this in a way that is supportive? Like, why do we have this energy within us that when we're flirty, when we're excited, when we feel attractive, or when we feel desire, even if it's within our own bodies that we're experiencing this, why does it make us light up? Right? And so I wanted to live a life that was, my first book was called You Only Live Once, Life in Business Innovation Style, which is basically what can we light ourselves up with that is our values, and that it trickle into every aspect of our lives. And what is the generator? What is the nuclear reactor that's powering this whole system of aliveness? That's a sexuality. It's our sensuality. It doesn't even have to be intercourse. It's simply just feeling
Right.
good in our bodies.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how people find their journey. And a lot of times their journey in their future is obviously because of their past. And so when it finally hits you to be really into it, it makes sense on what you're meant to do. I think that your history of, like you said, not growing up feeling, when you finally do feel it, it is a light. It is pretty spectacular.
It is a light. In the beginning, it was a burden because it's like it's too much
It's
sensation.
overwhelming, overwhelming.
Yeah, if you don't see colors, and then suddenly you see like a million and 20 colors, you're just like, oh my god, this is too much. It's overstimulating.
Right,
Um, it's like
right.
almost like ADD. And then afterwards, you learn how to discern like what's your energy, what's not your energy, what's your emotion, what's not your emotion, and then you
It's
become
almost like people who
really
are empaths.
yes,
Yeah, same thing. It's like
exactly.
they're holding on because I'm an empath, and I have to literally like shake off some of, like, I'll just be watching something or I'll be around somebody and then I'll feel this energy and then I'll be like, okay, I am so uncomfortable right now. There's this thing sucking my energy out of my body. Like you could feel it. And when you can pay attention to it, right, then you're aware.
Absolutely. And then from there, Tantra came in because it was pretty much it's the energetic awareness and sexuality put together. Like where the crossover between spirituality and sexuality is a really fun part for me to play in, because I'm so energetically aware. I love the information that we get through emotional awareness and energetic awareness, and the idea of spiritual growth, like growing as a human, strengthening empowerment. These are themes that I love. And
Right.
connection is something I love as well. So like truly feeling that resonance when you're talking about empathic connection, finding that resonance between two people, that's like a really, really sweet spot to
Oh, yeah.
experience love. I like
Yeah.
to feel love, like what we were sharing earlier. If all the sensation of love can be felt, I love that ability to experience this surround sound Dolby 5 point whatever, like 5.5, like, surround sound 3D, 4D, 5D love, right? And so for me, multidimensional love is extremely attractive as a thought process. And then to be able to train our bodies to experience and embody it in this realm makes it even more exciting. And so that's sort of like what drew me to Tantra, like the ability to experience multidimensional aspects of love. And then Taoism, which is the Chinese version of, it's like a philosophy as well. Tantra, it comes from like the yogic tradition and in the Vedic texts. And then also for Taoism, it's the it comes from Tao, which is the way. And in their practices, they also use prana, which is in Tantra we use prana, and then in Taoism it's chi, to circulate sexual energy or aliveness energy, life force energy around for healing purposes of our organs. Healing is a huge portion of my passion, and because we become more liberated as we heal, we
That's what I
can
was going to
become
say.
more
That's
whole.
how it has to start. It has to start with that healing. And so,
Mhm.
speaking of, if you're taking all of that and putting it together, you got your sensuality, your breathwork movement, all the kind of stuff that the practices that you use. How can that help people reclaim their power to be able to be who they are? So, how
It's
does all that work?
really, how did all of this work in terms of, like, how the curriculum came about? Or, like, how does it work in terms of, like, how does
Yeah,
breath
like
work
if
and all of
you're
that?
using it and you're talking to people and you're helping them practice it, how can all of that putting together help them be stronger and help them reclaim who they are?
Mhm. Yeah, so it comes from every angle, right? Like, so as we spoke about earlier, it's really about knowing who we are first. Knowing who we are is a very complex topic, even though it should be really simple because we're humans and this is our, our existence. But it's a very complex topic because, like what we said earlier, there's a million inputs, right? Information from the internet, information from our entire life. It just
Right.
who you should be, who you are, who everyone told you are. So to hear that inner voice, it's actually a process of shedding. So it's not so much like finding an answer, it's more like allowing the answer to emerge. And so I use a lot of energy work to shut out the voices that may be interfering with your inner voice, your connection with yourself. And then, so your intuition or your gut. And then we also use a lot of meditation and breathwork practices in order to go there. We also do a lot of visualizations and similar to hypnotic experiences, but it's basically the process I call your unique magnetic momentum process, that we clear energy that's interfering with your truth, and then we go into your truth, and then we look at, okay, what is your truth? And once we know what your truth is, whether or not you don't take action on it is completely up to you. It depends on the timing, it depends on a lot of different factors. um in terms of sensuality and sexuality, your truth can come from your heart, it can come from your throat, and it can also come from your genitals. And they all can have conflicting truths or different truths, right? And then we can segment it even further, such as, in your genitals itself, it could be egotistical or like reptilian or desire, like unconscious messages, or it could be very conscious and a deeper and sort of more spiritual eroticism. And so depending on how you connect with them, and which vibrates, like if you're connecting with your genitals from a very humble place, from a very raw and safe and like
Vulnerable, open.
genuine, vulnerable, open, all of those safe places, and you ask, okay, what do you really, really want right now? The kind of answers you're getting from that place is very different, and it's likely that it's going to be fulfilling versus something that is like a very surface level desire. So nothing to say that one is better than the other. It's more just different layers of needs.
Right. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, you know, you have to just keep doing little by little.
Mhm.
And it makes sense that if you can peel back those layers, you come to the true you, and that gives you that power to be,
And that gives you, yeah.
gives you that power.
Truth is power, and to be able to live your truth or understand your truth or connect with your truth, it gives you power, immense power, a power of clarity. And clarity gives you the motion to act into it or the choice, right? And then choice is
Right.
power too.
And I
So when
think
we're
people
talking,
don't have that
Mhm.
clarity very easily. People don't get that clarity very easily. I think that's one of the things that I see in my practice, where people just don't know what they want, who they are, how to get there. They're lacking that clarity.
I think the clarity piece is one of the most rewarding places to be in. It can be inconvenient, and it is also the place where the biggest growth and the biggest potential joy lives. And there's nothing wrong with not having that. It's just that society and culture hasn't really conditioned us into accepting and even meeting our own clarity.
Yeah, they've squashed it a little bit too much.
Or there's like a group narrative that people that, that media or culture kind of, um
Well, they
it's
tell
like
you how it's
mainstream.
supposed to be, or how it
Yeah.
should be, and how you should follow. And I don't go by any of
Or
that.
what's interesting or what's cool or what the options are versus like, let's design the option from scratch.
Right, right. So for people that do want to kind of find their energy, get that clarity, do you have any kind of cool ideas of how people can take their first step to, getting in touch with themselves?
Yeah. So we do a lot of breath work, like we mentioned the yummy transformational like breath clearing, which yummy stands for your unique magnetic momentum. It is a process in which we combine multiple modalities to quieten the mind. So it's mindfulness practice and pair it with breath work to feel that the body can get into parasympathetic nervous system. And then it's just deep breaths. I mean, it's at the simple core structure of it, it's deep breaths with a lot of cueing and very precise. Imagine surgery for your energetic field. And so as you get taken through the process, you'll be in a group environment or a one-on-one environment, will be able to see where the tension and the discordance lies and how you can actually tune into your frequency of you. So your clarity. So the quick answer to that question is um 10-second breaths. 10-second in,
I
ten
mean,
second out.
it seems so simple. And I know many times that when people have, let's say, performance anxiety, erectile issues, all this nervousness, and like you said, with the parasympathetic nervous system, I mean, the blood is just flowing so fast when you have all these anxieties. It's taking everything away from the genitals, and so it's so important to breathe and slow all that down, to allow that energy to flow properly through the body. And it's just something so simple, but yet so many people have never done it, or don't do it, or don't know that that's a great start. So
It's
that's a really helpful tip.
also it's also useful to calibrate with a practitioner like you or me who can take you through that process so you understand what that feels like. And so that way you have a reference point that when you're doing it yourself, it's not it's like um it's like it's like watching a really amazing orchestra, right? Like if you're like in order to like
Mhm.
experience the full experience of that breath, and you got to really sink into it. And if someone helps you to just kind of calibrate to how to relax, then your nervous system understands, okay, this is the pattern and this is how your shoulders can be held in order to feel the full relaxation of the experience. And in that place of complete stillness, that's when clarity bubbles up. Clarity is not, you can't force clarity. It's not somewhere where you go. It's not like you run to Times Square and clarity is there. It's not an active process. It's a process of reducing noise. And so and to understand that you have to shut down and turn, like it's like on your computer, you have to close every single window. You have to close every single running thing in your system in order to access
Shut it all
clarity.
down.
You gotta shut it all down, close everything that's taking bandwidth. Otherwise, you can't hear it. It's the smallest whisper.
Yeah. So it's not like you're just going,
Yeah.
you know,
You can
you
you
need
can
to be
take 10 breaths like that, but likely it's not
it's
gonna
not going to do
get you
anything. No, like you said,
there.
it's really how the energy is going to flow, how the shoulders are positioned, how that pattern. So it
How
definitely
your
is
pupils are
helpful.
more dilated, and then your arms are falling off, and you're like almost in that like awake and sleep state. And so there's a lot of nuance to it.
Right.
And it's similar to like if you have an extreme sport that you play, or golf or tennis, or like it's exactly like it's the perfect way you hold that club, and you
And do
have
this.
that
Yeah.
positioning. But you must have practiced it like a million times before you
Right.
got that perfect fit, right? And so that's why it helps to be walk through that process so that your body can find its own um, like
Own.
alignment into that space.
Right, right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I just want to take a quick commercial break and then we'll come back. I wanted to ask you a couple more questions about the yummy. So we'll be back in
Sure.
just a minute.
Absolutely.
If you enjoy these podcasts with Dr. Stacy, imagine the results you can get from a personal coaching session. As a clinical sexologist and certified sex coach with over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Stacy helps people just like you reignite passion, explore their desires, and break through blocks that may be holding you back, solo or with a partner. Whether you're struggling with communication, desire mismatch, performance anxiety, or simply want to feel more confident and connected in your sex life, Dr. Stacy is here to help. She offers a complimentary 15-minute consult so you can see if working together feels right. Visit drstacyfriedman.com to schedule your free call today, and let's take your passion to the next level.
So yummy. I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. What did you say that yummy stood for?
Your unique magnetic momentum. And
Okay.
then the program that we run is called Sensual Liberation Program.
Okay.
So
So
YUMMY stands for your unique magnetic momentum. It's basically like a 6 module. It's the outline of my best-selling book, and it basically takes you through these different processes of connecting your heart energy, your light. You're a signal, right? Your frequency that we talked about, that when you
right,
sink into clarity, it's just you. And then how that interacts with the world, how that interacts with your lifestyle and into your contribution into the world. And this was my business coaching days, where then, I mean, I still do a lot of business coaching and leadership coaching, and would be how you would interact with your products, your offerings, and your clients, and your energy management. Sensual Liberation Program is basically how your erotic flow and your clarity after clearing all your shame, guilt, and stressors in understanding yourself intimately can then create an energy flow that powers up your whole life. And so Central Liberation Program goes into all of the erotic flows. We go into all the orgasmic breath work, so you could achieve non-ejaculatory orgasm or prolonged orgasm, or be able to experience freedom during intrusive thoughts during intimacy. And then communication models, like 8 different ones on how to do before, middle, and after sex debriefs, and just all kinds of stuff, even like conflict resolution, how to go from like um total disconnect to arousal, and then all the crazy triggers and how to talk about those in the process of actually resolving it to the point that you're like, oh my gosh, I feel closer to you and actually very attracted right now. So
right.
that's sort of the goal of a very fun conflict resolution process. And then yeah, that's module 3. 2 is clearing energy. First is erotic flow. And then 4, 5, and 6 is expanding energy. And then we have the whole ritual, tantric ritual. Tantric rituals usually last 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours. It's really giving your body the best sensation and connection experience. And it's a lot of nuances that go into that, making the person feel like absolutely adored. And it's not even about penetration, it's about like total intimacy and connection and really being present. And then it creates a type of connection that is you're feeling like you're one.
Mhm.
And then sex magic, which is the last module in the program. It's basically about using all this beautiful energy that you've cultivated and how to then experience the change it creates in your confidence level, which then you take out into the world. How does it offer you changes in the way you think so that you can problem solve better? And how can you take that creative and joy and invincibility sort of like energy into the world where a bit of this positivity and a bit of this like a resilience is could go a long way.
Yeah, because that's something that you need not just sexually and intimately, but that if you can bring that confidence into your whole life, it just sheds a whole different light. And you had said about one of the things in your modules about taking, because so many women, especially when they are in the sexual bedroom, they can't get out of their own head. And so it sounds like what you're working on helps people get out of that space as well to be able to get back into their bodies. Because that's something that's huge that I see many, many times is people just can't focus. They're just disconnected physically.
It's super easy to get into your head, especially if you had an argument before or something someone said made you feel insecure, whether at work or in the partnership or whatever.
Or
Or
just having
sometimes
kids and doing work and
or
household stuff,
having
or
kids and just
I
having,
have
like,
to
a
do
million things on your
laundry.
to-do list. Everything can
Yeah,
take you out of the moment. And I see that all the time,
yeah,
right? And even if I point it out to people, like, "Do you know, like, this moment, we can choose to make this in a beautiful moment, or you can stay stuck in this particular place that you're in." They're like, "I choose to stay stuck," like, I can't, how am
right.
I gonna get there?" And so it becomes this very defeatist experience.
Right. So what kind of do you have a tip for people? I mean, obviously it helps to go through the whole process, but if someone is disconnecting and they're in the bedroom, besides, let's say, the breath work, is there something that they can do to be able to get a little bit more focused and be able to get
Just
better?
realize that, that all these thoughts are just thoughts. Like, you don't need to choose to associate them. Like, they don't need to have power over you. Understanding that you are the one who gets to decide what you want to experience in this moment. And if you're wanting to experience pleasure and you're like, you know what? I'm choosing to experience pleasure, then allow yourself to then shake off that thought, do the breath work, and come back to the moment. You don't need to listen to the thought. It can be just imagine a thought is a toddler who's like, "I want this candy, I want this candy, I want this candy." You're like, "No, it's not gonna happen right
Right.
now."
So it's really just
Um,
talking to yourself and really getting yourself into that space of I don't
just
have to listen,
recognizing,
recognizing.
yeah, recognizing that that thought does not need your attention right now. Like, what needs your attention is you, like
Right.
self-love. Like, the love is what needs your attention right now. If you were your own, like, if you were your most treasured lover or the thing that you love the most, and the whole world is like burning to ashes, but this is the moment that you need, and you're just like, that this is so important to you right now, then give it to your full attention, because you can always go back to all those things later. And just
Right.
realizing that you do have the power is the most important. I think a lot of times, like in the beginning, when I talk to a lot of my clients, they allow these thoughts of rejection or to-do lists or life circumstances to come through, because that's how they became effective and successful at getting all this stuff done. It's like
Right.
doing it in real time, spontaneous executors.
Right.
And so at one point, when you're like, you know what, I need to prioritize this moment with my lover right now, because I choose to prioritize it, and the world is not going to burn at this moment if I
Right, and you're
choose to
already
prioritize.
there, you might as well enjoy it while you're there.
You
You're already in
enjoy
that
it to
space.
the fullest, really allowing it's like when a sunset is happening and there's only 5 seconds before the sun goes down and everything's pink. Are you
You
gonna
get
be
to
like,
be there.
"Wait, hold on, let me just entertain my laundry thought for a second. The sunset is, like, right in front of you."
Right.
So just imagine, just giving yourself the freedom to enjoy the moment
I
is
like
the
to use
thought that you gotta
right.
have.
Yeah, I use the word a lot for permission when I'm working with my clients, is just giving
Mhm.
yourself that permission to say, you know what, the laundry could wait, the bills can wait. I deserve this. My relationship deserves this. My family deserves this, to be able to be present in that moment with your partner or even with yourself, to allow, so many people don't allow themselves to feel good by themselves, because they're just, I don't have time. I don't, all the thoughts go in. So it's good to get in that space of just giving yourself that permission.
And to pull yourself out of it. And it's really a mindfulness practice at the end of the
Yeah.
day, which is why I really like Tantra and Taoism, is because at the end of the day, it's a reflection of our attention management system.
Which we all need some help with, I think.
And what better way than to learn to focus on your sexuality, or learn how to focus on
Right.
love and how to focus on intimacy, right? Like that as a topic, it's like, okay, I could do that. Like I can sit here and breathe and think into nothing, or I can sit here and breathe into eroticism and comfort and feeling of being loved, right? So it's a nice incentive.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so when you're talking about connecting and the breath work and all that kind of stuff, I think that that really helps with just intimacy and then the tantra and everything, because you are more present.
You're
So
more present, and then you can direct your thoughts. So the reason I like Tantra so much is because the marriage of the breath work and Taoism as well, with that breath work, then we get to play with the energy. When you start having more control over your more decision and more choice over where your energy is flowing, you can start directing the energy. So you can direct it back into your genitals. You can direct it into your arousal. You're more aware of the subtleties of your pleasure. It's no longer just one key on the piano. You're starting to see the whole piano, or maybe multiple pianos. You start playing your body like an instrument. And so, in order to achieve, and not that you need to be a master at sex or master at lovemaking or a master at loving yourself. However, if you do want to truly love yourself, it's not a simple "I love you." Like that "I love you" needs to resonate throughout the whole stadium of your body, and it's just like having a good singer versus a singer that doesn't project, right? So how can you project that love through every single cell of your body? And yeah, so that breath work really helps the amplification of it if it was an amphitheater.
and you can just say, yeah, you could just say like, I love you to somebody. But when you're looking into someone's eyes, when you're holding them, when you're connecting, like you said, all that energy, it just brings a whole new
When
meaning
you're
to it.
breathing together, right? Like even when you're breathing together at the same pace and the same length of your breath, with the same relaxation and the sighs, and the body relaxes at the same time. There's an element of safety that happens, and then you start doing it automatically, and that becomes even more fun.
And all that stuff, when you are breathing and getting into that intimate space, that can definitely overcome shame, trauma, all those kind of things, because you're kind of going inside, right? Like
It
how are you using like,
depends. For us, the way that I see it, it really depends on your intention as well. If you're wanting to cultivate safety, then that breathing definitely helps it. And also your partner and you can discuss this, right? Like when you're feeling any emotion rise up, sometimes you just want to be witnessed and you want the emotion to flow through you. So what I experience a lot in our sessions when people experience trauma is like there's these more intense sensations that are running through their bodies that sometimes may be uncontrollable. And so when you're saying like how can we get over them, it's really allowing them to exist but not having it get stuck in the body, but just kind of pass through,
releasing it?
releasing it, and then reassuring that this is a safe space. And that relaxation is an atmosphere of safety, and eye contact is an atmosphere of safety, patience, non-judgment, and non-pushing, non-goal orientation, which is another tantra theme, is a orientation of safety. We're not trying to get an orgasm, we're not trying to get
Right.
anywhere, you're not needing to do anything to my body. We are here in the present moment tuning into what's happening. We're not going, there's no agenda here. If there is an agenda, then we have to perform. We have to get an A on this performance test. But if there is no agenda, then we get to really tune into what's true. And being okay with that is a huge
Yeah.
shift in mindset as well.
Absolutely, because most of the people that you talk to nowadays that may not have some of that sexual education, that it's all about the destination. Well, I didn't have an orgasm, or that person's not giving me an orgasm, or whatever. And they're not focusing on the journey of it, the expression of it, the feeling of it. And it just kind of takes away that whole experience when it's all focused on the end result. And it's so important to be able to just be in that space and say, let's just be here. Let's just be here. Let's just see what it's all about. And you said about looking in the eyes. I can't believe how many people can't look their partner in the eye when they're like kissing or in a space. It's such an intimate energy that people are so afraid of.
It's
You
so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you if you have any tips for people that do struggle to really look in their partner's eyes and get to that intimate, safe space. Is it just having a conversation with their partner and sharing that it is uncomfortable, or is there,
I
along with
think
the breathing, how could they help
for when
that?
I do, yeah, when I do couples work, a lot of times, even online, because a lot of my couple work is done online, where I'm just facilitating both of them. I would recommend to have a facilitator for your first time, just so you can stop laughing. Because sometimes people start giggling and they think it's
Right.
so silly and they just can't
Awkward.
do it. And it's really awkward. They don't know what to do, and it's just really uncomfortable. So having a facilitator definitely helps. And what I usually do is I help them both. Actually, sometimes I facilitate like a group, a group activity, and even that is really difficult. But if there's one person holding down the space, it's easier to kind of slide into it. It's as if there's a piece of music that's playing, and you just have to join that piece of music.
Right.
And so having a facilitator, that's one. And then secondly, just understanding that it is going to be freaking awkward the first time. And you don't have to look into their eyes. You can just defocus your eyeballs. Like it could be like looking at their temples.
Yeah, their face.
And yeah, and just focus on your relaxation. Don't focus on the person. Focus on the body just feeling comfortable eye to eye, even though you're not looking straight into their eyeball,
Right.
is fine. You can be looking at their eyebrows, you can be looking at their nose, right? And at one and the thing that I really like people to see when I'm leading like couples is just look at how hard they've worked this week. Who did they need to be in order to be the person that they are today? Like all the hardship that they've gone through and all the challenges. Like when you start looking at the person as a human and all the hard work that took for them to be here today, then you start dropping into your heart a little bit more. And the idea is to be in your heart when you're doing this practice. Um it's not about being silly. It's more about being like genuine. You can laugh. People smile a lot of times. Like once they drop into their heart, they smile because it's
It feels good.
beautiful. Huh?
Right. Yeah, no, it
It's
feels
really
good.
It feels good and it's beautiful to suddenly focus on the other person. No, we talked about presence, right? There's a lot of times your mind is in five places and then
Right.
you're barely here. But when you're really looking at someone, you cannot be thinking about your text message or your Instagram scroll or
Yeah.
whatever. You're really, really, really there, and then you start smiling at some point. First you have to tune into yourself. Then you can tune into the other,
That
and
way you
then
don't
you
laugh.
yeah.
Right. Right.
But people laugh and it's fine too. Like a
Yeah.
lot of times I have like people go into giggle um outbursts and I just let them laugh and then bring them back and they laugh and we bring them back and eventually it's part of it. It's part of the
Yeah, and
journey
it's
as
a
well.
skill. I mean, it's a little bit of a skill. It takes practice to get to that place to just feel comfortable and you know, be open to looking and having that
Yeah.
practice to see
Imagine
what
you're looking into a newborn's eyes.
yeah,
You would never like laugh, or you might laugh, but it's very comfortable to look into the eyes of a newborn or a
yeah.
baby, right? And so it's the same thing. It's like being so
Love.
in tune and there for that person or for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to also, like you said, pay attention to who that person's been that week or whatever, because so many times we have so many expectations from our partners. They didn't do this. They didn't do this. How come they're not doing this? They're not giving me this. And we have to, yes, obviously look at our needs and what we need from our partner. But when you can pay attention to what your partner's been through, you could have that empathy, you could have that compassion, and you can come from a place where when you have that communication or that intimacy, you could be like, okay, we both need to just take that time to get in this safe space and just understand each other.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, makes a big
And
difference.
it's the hardest thing is to it's not even the hardest thing. It's just to make time. That's the hardest thing. It's just,
Yes.
okay, let's do it's the hardest thing, but it's the easiest thing because it really only takes 5 minutes.
Right,
And so if you tell me that you don't have 5 minutes to do this per week, then you're really lying to yourself, and it's the resistance. There's a lot of resistance to this. It's just like, you're right, like, let's just do this for 5 minutes, but maybe it takes us 5 minutes to get into it, so let's set like a 10-minute thing on our calendar on a Friday night or a Saturday
right,
like morning, and let's just do it, and even
right,
just doing that connects you with each other for the rest of the week already.
right. I think though that
Sometimes.
when you say, yeah, when you say 5 minutes, I sometimes will say all you need is sometimes 15 minutes. So just those small blocks of time are so important. But what happens, I think, is that one person might be like, okay, yeah, we could take 5 minutes. But as soon as I take 5 minutes, that person wants this and this and this and this, and they just want to keep getting more and more and more. And so we have to set up that intention first and say, let's just take 5 minutes or let's take 10 minutes, whatever it is, with an intention of no expectations, just being present. And that way you don't have to worry in your head about what's going to happen when A goes to B goes to C. You can just be there. And I think that
It's
happens.
really yeah, it's really challenging for some people because they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I'm looking into their eyes, I feel so connected, I need to touch them, I need to do this, I need to do that, I wanna
Right.
start kissing them."
Horny or whatever.
And
It's,
and it's really tough for the other
yeah.
person if the other person just simply wants to experience
Yeah.
presence. And so you can always negotiate that and allow that to be a pure presence moment. Because what if the other person just wants presence without touch? And
Right.
then sometimes they want presence with touch. So you do want to say that, but you also need to the challenge is because disconnected, like, if there's a need for connection within the couple and disconnection is present, the moment you have 5 minutes of connection, it can bubble and the scope can expand into like 2 hours. And the person who actually only wanted 5 minutes feels like it got like unconsensually expanded. And so
Right.
that's really rough. So what that indicates is that there is a thirst for connection, which means that maybe instead of doing it once a week, you could negotiate something like 3 times a week, 5 minutes each, but let's keep it at 5 minutes, but just have it more frequently so that it's
Right.
in bite-sized pieces. So the both people need to be able to accept the frequency and the size of these connection bits, and then or you can negotiate like, okay, let's have a intimate session once a week or something. And
Right.
so it becomes then a conversation, and the size of the container can shift based on what the partner needs. And you need to do a couple of rounds of this to see how it fits in your schedule and how you can
Right.
do that, just to be able to practice this skill. And the more you do it, the faster you can drop in. And sometimes it's even like as you're waiting for the bus, or like as you're in transit and traffic, you can drop in as well. And so it becomes less and less formal and more, maybe you're washing dishes and just about to kiss your partner, and you can drop in there for like a minute. And so you start accumulating these little wins along the way.
Yeah. And that helps tremendously at the end. So that's definitely a helpful tip for sure.
So you can then create all those present moments, and that leads up to the like, it's not foreplay even. I hate the word foreplay because it means like the main thing, and there's like some sort of main thing, even though these things are all really good.
Right.
So
Right.
whatever, it just adds to the connection, and the connection will add to the love, and then the love pot will add to the passion. And so you're just seeing these cumulative value adds into your love passion pot, and that feeds the need of everybody, and it feeds arousal.
Absolutely. You need that to get going. So
Yeah,
definitely
you
a
don't
good.
need to do it all in the bedroom. You can do it everywhere.
Absolutely. Oh, that's the thing. That's the so-called foreplay, is that you can't just start in the bedroom. You have to start through the day, and you have to give yourself, like you said, the 1 minute where you're washing the dishes and stop for a minute and have a nice kiss or a nice hug and not feel like it's a distraction. Like, oh God, I'm in the middle of doing dishes. Do you mind waiting until I'm done? Stop yourself, be in that 1 minute moment and allow those juices to flow and the love to connect. So that way, when it is time for a little bit of a longer experience, you have that arousal. So definitely makes
You
sense.
have that connection already, so you're always building
Right.
upon that connection. So it's not starting from zero and you have to light the match and start the barbecue. You
Right.
can already the barbecue is already, the fire is already burning. You know how long it takes to light a barbecue? That's not what yeah, just keep
Absolutely.
it going.
Absolutely. So on that fiery note, I'm going to just take one more quick commercial break and then we'll be right back to finish up.
Looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Dr. Stacy's got you covered. From luxurious lotions to silky lubes and tantalizing toys, our collection has everything you need to turn up the heat and reignite that spark. Whether you're flying solo or with a partner, our products are designed to enhance intimacy and pleasure. Use the coupon code PURPLE and get 20% off your entire order. Visit drstacyfriedman.com, click the shop link, and explore our full range of goodies that are sure to bring out the fun in the bedroom. Let's make every moment more exciting. Dr. Stacy's Tantric Toys, where pleasure meets purpose.
So we're back, and I wanted to just finish up our conversation with possibly there's so many people that don't really know what Tantra is. And they may be like, okay, this just sounds, I had someone walk into my office one day and just says, if you're going to tell me to look into someone's eyes, I'm out of here. So there's a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, literally, I was just kind of like, okay, I'll just keep my mouth shut. But there's just so many people that are skeptical or don't understand it. So do you have any, like, if someone wanted to try something tonight just to see how it can connect, do you have a simple practice that they can try? Like a simple tip?
I mean, we've shared so many practices today already that I find is so potent in the base of what Tantra Taoism consciousness is. And so if we had to pick one thing, I would say pick one thing that resonated with you in all of the practice that we shared today and actually do it, right? Whether that is the presence practice where we shared, like, be present,
Right.
whether it is a moment that is in flow. I think instead of adding an additional one, I would want you to just reflect upon what
Focus.
we shared and like pick one and put it into practice. So we also talked about the presence practice of setting aside like that 5 minute moment, scheduling it in. If it's a schedule it in. If it's a scheduling a session, schedule that session in. If you want to do that eye contact, do that eye contact. If you want to do that 10 count breath work, do it, right? Do it every day. The key here is not so much you need more, it's more about you need to actually put it into your body. So the idea is the embodiment aspect is what's going to make a biggest difference for you. For example, so we now know that tantra is energetic, it's embodiment, it's sort of that spiritual combination. It doesn't have to be sexuality is really neo tantra is more about how the west sort of like took tantra and the sexuality pieces and then very much put a magnifying glass on the sexual aspect. Tantra itself is very similar to yoga. It's a meditative practice, and it's really moving energy around. So then the first step is understanding that your erotic energy and your sexual energy is a fire. It's alive in you, and just keep it burning. Keep it burning through connection, through honesty, through communication, through breath. So you can use breath, words, actions, and
Love
physical
it.
connection.
Love it.
Yeah,
And I think
keep it
also it depends. What was that?
keep it burning. Keep those coals burning.
Keep it burning. And I think that maybe some of the tips that we shared or you shared today if people can kind of see what they maybe need more of. Maybe they need more of being present, so the breath work might be more important. Maybe they need more of building it up through the day, so those 1 minute or 5 minutes might be more important. So kind of see where your relationship is with yourself, with your partner, and kind of go from there. So I want people to be able to find you if they need, because you work online all over the world, right?
Yes. Come
So
find me at tantrasingapore.com, like right here, take a screenshot, blink, and find us on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel as well, Hani Cheng, just search that up. Yeah, join our email list. Get one of those. So when you go to tantrasingapore.com, you're going to see intimacy coaching. And then when you click in there, you're going to get that 4-part video series for Sensual Liberation Program. So check that out.
yeah,
It's a
that's
gift.
a nice tip to offer to people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
awesome. Thank you so much from being all over on the other side of the world and agreeing to chat with me and learning a little more about the Tantra and the Taoism and everything that is energy. And it was definitely an energetic reset and a sensual revelation all in one. So thanks for taking us on that journey. To breathe deeper, to feel more, to live our erotic truth. I mean, to all of you listening, remember that your sensuality is not separate from your power. So the more we can get into there, the more power and confidence we can have. So it's about pretty much returning to yourself. That's where that magic lives. And we talk about your magic, erotic magic.
And yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you, amazing sexologist as well. And it's just like so fun to be able to talk about this topic. And thank you, listeners, for being here and spicing up your own sex lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I'm going to say bye-bye and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
So thank you all for listening to the Purple Passion Project. It's where we keep it real with just the right amount of spice. If today stirred something in you, let it. If you loved what you heard, make sure to subscribe on all major podcast platforms. And if you're ready to go deeper, subscribe to my YouTube at Dr. Stacy Friedman and follow me all over social media at Dr. Stacy Friedman for resources, to find fun adult products, or just for personal coaching support. Until next time, stay curious, stay turned on, and never apologize for wanting more. Thank you.
This has been the Purple Passion Project with host Dr. Stacy Friedman. Tune in each week as Dr. Stacy breaks down walls, busting myths, and gives you permission to want more with no shame, no filters, and definitely no small talk. Check in every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite streaming platforms. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be sure to visit drstacyfriedman.com to learn more.